Wait,
Okay, here we are. Now live for real. Sorry. We- I've opened the microphone a bit earlier. So, Marcelo here, the community manager for Horizon and Skyweaver. And we are very happy to have you here. This is the last patch of the year. So, we would like to give you a bit of an extra perspective. Lauren was supposed to come, but she was super busy with what you see on your screen right now, the patch. So unfortunately, she couldn't come. But anyway, we have more information about art in the future, maybe when 2021 starts. So I have here with me good old Coulter. Hey Coulter.
hello.
And I have here our wizardly dev, Ari.
Hello.
And yeah, we're gonna talk a little bit about this patch. This is an interesting one because uh, Coulter had this cool idea of having the whole game mode new feature kind of thing for the holidays, and the team basically built everything in a week, right, Ari?
Yeah, we sure did, and it is very ready.
That's super awesome. Yeah, so I'll show here some more details, but first, Ari, you've worked a ton this year on a lot of cool things like the secret state and other improvements. Just how was 2020 for you, minus COVID and other issues? And let us know what was your perspective from a technical point of view.
From Skyweaver, we did some really amazing work. I feel incredibly lucky to have worked with this great team and on this super interesting project. We've delivered like so many consistent patches, like the pipeline from Coulter designing to my implementation to all of our state engine updates and all the bugs we've closed. It's really nice to see how far we've come during this year and how much work we put into Skyweaver and how much people are enjoying it. So it's really exciting from a technical point of view and from a community point of view to be building this game and to be doing all the cool things we do and to have everyone playing it.
Yeah, it's really amazing to see just how far we've gone. I was just looking at some old footage that I've captured in the end of 2018 and then the beginning of the alpha, then later on before the open beta. And yeah, this is pretty wild. What was the most challenging thing do you think we had from a technical point of view in this year?
I'd say probably the secret state. It was one of the more quiet updates because it didn't have a lot of user-facing changes, but we pretty much rewrote the entire game state engine, both me and Will, the other state engineer, who's not on this call.
Yep.
We really wrote the entire state engine of how card rules and everything resolve under the hood to ensure secrecy, to ensure competitive integrity, just basically make sure that your opponent can't read your hand, and all the intricate little things like when cards go back into the deck and in and out and get modified. There's no way to track any of that stuff. That was a huge, massive project, and it actually gave us a lot of opportunities to build out some cool tech and basically deal with code that was not so pretty. We got to rewrite it into very pretty code. And along with that means bug fixes come a lot easier. And we've actually got some things coming up very soon, some animation improvements that we're just putting the finishing touches on that along with those secret state changes kind of see through our vision of making Skyweaver way more fluid, way less buggy, and way more fun to play.
Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely feel the difference here when I play at home right now and on my mobile. Yeah, we've done good job here. And what about you, Coulter? From a design point of view, what do you think where we are now, and what can we expect for the future? You've inherited the whole game design not so long ago, and you're doing some good work so far. Give us a bit of your perspective.
This is a really exciting event, which has just we've been working on it for some time, featuring our new character that we've got here, Kramp-mas. And so it's just very exciting to share with you all. It was an idea I had a couple of weeks ago to try to do a little something for the community, and Yeah, it's just really exciting, and I'm excited to see how people have fun with it now and talked about it a bit more during this patch. Am I still crackly?
A little bit, yeah. But I guess it's your connection, yeah.
It's probably just poor connection on my part.
It's all good. we'll make do. Let us not let some crackle spoil the fun. So this is really interesting. From Ari, I know that you're super busy, and I don't want you to keep you here during all the stream. Any message for the community? What have you seen so far, and how the community has been playing, helping us debug the game? Any other thing you would like to mention?
It makes me really happy to see people playing Skyweaver and enjoying it, and it makes me the most happy when people care enough about it to argue their opinions to other players. Seeing people debate, like a heated debate about which card's better than another card, which deck's better than another deck, and begging for features, that really shows to me that you guys care about the game, and that's, that our players care about the game is one of the most important things to me. It means we've done a good job of making it, and we are going to keep adding features. We're going to keep balancing it. We're going to add more cards, and it's just going to get better. It's just going to get better and better and better. So thank you all for reporting all the bugs you report. We couldn't do it without you. Some people, there's bugs that I've never seen, but our players get, and one player will get them over and over and over. So please keep reporting those bugs. Even if you think it's barely worth a report, it's worth a report. I appreciate it. Thank you, community.
We all appreciate it, yes. Sometimes, of course, we can't individually thank everybody, but we are always looking and sharing. Ashavari has also been doing a great job. It was my job alone in the past to get the feedback from the community and relay to the devs, and now she's doing a great job at also in identifying issues and talking to Ari and the rest of the gang. So this is really cool. And as a final question for you, Ari, and then you're free to stick with us or leave. It's up to you. What was your favorite bug that was reported by the community? Do you have any? And anything that sticks out?
That's a good question. I think probably my favorite bug was the one that let you return your hero to hand. Or to double your hero and get 2 heroes. That was one of my favorites from this year. But I think my favorite bug of all time was way back in the early days of Skyweaver. A unit could have both guard and stealth. And then
yeah.
There was nothing you could possibly do. I'm glad we fixed that one.
Yeah, that one wouldn't last too long in a live environment, that's for sure. That's awesome. Well, personally, thanks a lot, Ari. Yeah, I follow your work every day, and we don't get to talk a lot because I'm here in the other side of the world. But you're very much appreciated. Thanks a lot. And you, and of course, and all the rest of the gang that can't be here talking to us, right? Everybody's doing a great job. Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right, so here we are. What Ari and Coulter they were talking about, the Merry Kramp-mas. Okay, Krampus was added. Will be it's already added to the game, right? But will be going live tomorrow as usual in our balance patch. And it's not just another card, right? It's a new feature for you. And Misaris is yelling at me. Oh yeah, that's true. Misaris was one of the heroes that discovered the Whelm hero bug. So thanks a lot for that. And Bacon and all the rest of the gang here. So let's see. It's first of all a patch to celebrate everything that we've been doing so far. There are a couple of balance patches here. It's not an extensive patch, because we don't want to change a lot of things just before the holidays. However, what you will see here is we have this little character here, Krampus, doing some shenanigans while you have the play here. Let me show if I can show this full screen. Yeah, so there we go. So there are a number of things that can happen when Krampus shows up. And again, it's not a hyper-competitive mode, and it's actually, the idea here is to have fun, right? So you can join a match with a lot of interesting things going on, a little surprises. So, for instance, here we have the wrapped GIF. And when you play the gift, you get something you don't know. This in this case the festive brew, and where 2 units are conjured from the enemy at cost 0. In this case, right, -5 cost. So there you have it, right? Lots of interesting shenanigans for you all. Yes, it's a new game mode. As you will see here, we have an introduction, a little bit of lore, also carefully and lovingly crafted by Coulter for everybody. And you will see here in this next video here how it works, right? It's just another queue. You enter it. There will be a button very prominently displayed here in which you can just start, and there you have it. You'll be able to find several ways in which you can explore that alpha, I'm pretty sure. And maybe that's the goal here, all right? It's our little thank you gift, and we hope you have a good time, all right? And please don't freak out if things are unbalanced and etc., because that's more or less the point of it. So, as new features, we have the new Kramp-mas game mode. All right, you can see the button here. Just go on. If you want to play directly with somebody else, you can use Snow as the code word plus 2 other characters, and then you pair up directly with that person. All right, so you can play it wherever you and however you want. I have a little sonnet here for you, very classical, almost Shakespearean, and I hope you read later and tell me that I'm just an old fart. Okay, I appreciate that. And for new art, right? We have, of course, Krampus, and we have some new people here, and I think there's an art update for Angelo. I'm not sure this will cause any major earthquakes in the community. Let's see if it's well received. I think they all look great, so expect to see no spells and no units over here. All right, they're pretty easy to guess which is which. All right.
The most disconcerting thing to me is that B unit switched facing, which looks very confusing to me. He's now facing right instead of left.
The other side, exactly. I don't know. Maybe we can explain this via a lore setting or something, something like that. Anyway, this is super nice, and we'll keep on updating art, especially the older pieces that sometimes they are a bit out of focus and out of our current vision here. Then a couple of improvements, right? When you start the game, there will be a stronger, more noticeable purple glow in the recommended cards to make it easier, especially when you're in mobile, to see which cards we suggest you. And you will now have a small period of grace time, extra grace time, while we accept the match at the very end of the timer, because sometimes people would just desync and you would lose matches because of poor latency. This shouldn't happen anymore. And also, we now allow frame rates of up to 2040 hertz, right? So, of course, visual effects like that, they are highly dependent on your monitor, right? So if you have a super cool new mobile, which I think this is most geared towards mobile, right? Because usually the newer mobiles, they have faster refresh rates for their screens compared to monitors. But hey, if you have an amazing desktop monitor, you can also crank it up to your official frequency. So that's pretty nice. And also several bug fixes here. So the X-cost cards will no longer randomly lose their mana gems, which is a good change here. Redwood will no longer reduce your mana if it's not on the field when the trigger resolves. Sometimes the client would freeze when a lot of death effects would be fired at once, so this shouldn't happen anymore. And also related to death effect, Death's King will no longer trigger effects like Vishiva's effect on a unit's death, okay? So they are not exactly death effects. So it's a bit of a different story here. So there was also a bug where when you clicked on accept match, you could show the timeout message, right? But then you would go into a match. That shouldn't happen anymore. And when you select 4 cards as the second player and then you confirm before your opponent does, will not select. Now will select the correct cards, right? So there was a bit of an issue here. Then there is another little piece of poetry here by Ashavari, and she had the idea of writing a Krampus-themed poem, so we can thank her later, alright? I think her poem is much better than mine, but anyway. And then here we go towards the balance patch in itself. So what's the idea here, Coulter, before we go into the modified cards and the new cards?
Yeah, the main focus was obviously sort of on the special event, but I wanted to make a few balance changes too, since we're moving closer and closer towards like more proper releases. It's better to sort of let the cards settle and sort of just finish them up. But there were a few tweaks I thought I could make to some mid-range tools, and also a sort of language consolidation, which was should be helpful and help remove a corner case wording from the game.
All right, that's excellent. So let's see what we have here. As modified cards, let me know if there's any you would like to spend a bit more time in discussions. I think this is interesting. The first one is Enrage. So before it would target an ally unit, which would then fight a random enemy. Now target ally unit attacks a random enemy, right? So this is one of the examples you were mentioning about the language, right?
Yeah, this is the primary example, is that I removed the term fight since it had no definition. Like, it was easy to understand once you saw it, but it was separate from attack, largely because of certain corner cases with things like roots. And to my mind, it was better to sort of try to simplify the language and sort of address some of those corner cases where possible, rather than actually actively having a second term that would need a tooltip of its own, when we could just use attack, which is a more fundamentally understandable term, in my opinion.
Agreed.
Yeah, so Enrage is the first example of this. Oh my god, my stream is so low quality I can't read my own notes. Give me one second. Yeah, so Enrage didn't actually change itself. A number of cards got slight updates to themselves. Enrage being one of them, where anytime a card mentioned fight, like Titanic, Enrage, etc., now mentions attack, and in many cases that doesn't change too much, but it does in certain ones. So for example, the two changes are A, if a unit with a glory effect attacks a hero via an effect like Enrage, it will once again allow the glory change to activate.
Okay, that's big.
Yeah, and the second one is that if a unit has roots, it cannot attack even if forced by an effect. So if you try to enrage a unit with roots, it'll fail. And maybe down the line, I'd like to polish that so you just can't target it with enrage. But for now, something like that'll fail. Also, if Amaroth is in play and you play something, if you use a unit with a summon effect that makes it attack, like Bolt, Amaroth's effect to put roots on it will actually block its attack, because it won't be able to perform its attack because it has roots on it.
I see.
Yeah, Amaroth, Titanic. I may need to go over this with Ari. Titanic and stuff may not actually be stopped by Amaroth. I don't think they will be, because of the timing of the play effect, where play is more like on cast, whereas summon is on summons. So we'll need to look into that. It's likely that it should, but I do not think it will for the moment being, is my understanding.
Yeah, this is interesting.
So that's something worth discussing. We could even maybe discuss it a bit, but that's something, as far as I'm aware, I do not think it will block it because of the timing difference.
A great kaiju battle visual from Blood Hill. Yeah, definitely. It's like Gojira versus Rodan here.
It goes for hero roots. Oh, sorry, they hadn't spawned in here. For Good Dog Stream, it does go for hero roots. I can't really think of too. So yeah, if your hero is rooted, you can't Fury Mask into an enemy unit anymore. It'll fail.
Mm-hmm. That's a good question.
So
yeah.
we want to make some. There'll probably be a few tweaks that will go into this for making certain cards like Fury Mask maybe uncastable if your hero can't swing and stuff like that. So we'll have to take a look at that. But yeah, overall this should be simpler because we eliminate the term fight. We make attack work more how you'd expect it to. Brutes will block any attack that tries to take place because the unit cannot attack.
Yeah, it's just like as Blood Heel was asking here, if you spend the mana and then it just fizzles, or you just can't cast it at all, right? I think right now we are on the first case, but eventually might be better. And I think it also depends. It's on a spell by spell basis right now. So
yeah. You can still get a benefit from Fury Mask actually, so it should still remain castable. The attack part will fail, but it can still buff your board and give the banner. So yeah, it would be on a card-by-card basis. Fury Mask should remain castable because it does things. But I think that the preview might show that since the attack is... I'm almost certain it will show. Ari could confirm this. Since the attack will fail, it'll show that you're not going to deal damage. So it will warn you about that. It'll say the attack will not go through.
Yeah, that's correct. In the action preview, it will not show any damage being dealt.
Okay. There you have it. Instant development here. I love it. All right. So let's see some other examples here of this change. So everybody keep in mind the previous fight term has been nerfed and removed. Now those effects cause an attack. So this can potentially be cool for glory effects in some cards and stuff like that. So keep that in mind. Also might be relevant for stuff like Quest. So there you have it. Cool, that's a good change. I think that all changes in clarity are good changes overall. So second one here, talking about Quest, we have Champ. Champ is receiving a little bit of a buff here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, people have been clamoring for a buff to Champ, which I was always reluctant to do because I looked at it, I'm like, well, if Champ is a 3/3, then it's basically like Howlgeist, only better because it can immediately pass a quarter of its stats off to another unit via quest, but it does and you get a draw, but it does require you to go face with that unit and have a unit that's alive and able to attack. And if you play Champ onto an empty board, it's much worse than Howlgeist did generally, because Howlgeist has more stats and it has guard and wither for a turn at the very least. So overall, I think that Champ should be a fairly safe buff. Also, I like the idea of encouraging agility decks to use more 3 to 5 drops rather than all like 1 to 2 drops. So increasing the strength of some mid-range creatures is good.
Early mid-range buff here, so this is cool. Then we go into Honor Guard. Sorry, go on.
No, I said Champ isn't true mid-range, but it's like low mid-range.
Yeah. Then we have Honor Guard here. I really like the new artwork we introduced a few patches ago. So now Honor Guard comes with lead. This is interesting. I see this as a big buff. What about you, Coulter?
Yeah, Honor Guard's a pretty cool card, like in concept. I was also thinking about giving like 1 more health, which probably made it really good, but like comparing it to stuff like Totem, Honor Guard felt pretty weak considering how powerful Totem is, since it's a 3/3 banner guard. It trades off 1 attack and armor, and 2 health with armor and 3 health is sort of similar-ish, because 2 armored health isn't that much, but it's also fun that Honor Guard is literally 2 armor guards and a trench coat together, sort of standing on one another. So I like the 4/2 stat line on Armor Guard. And last time I believe I buffed, it may have been last time or the one before, I buffed the thing that's inside the Honor Guard by also giving it banner.
Yep.
But still looking at Totem, who summons 3 1-drops, versus Honor Guard, who summons 1 sort of premium 1-drop, and is also slightly more fragile than Totem, or I guess not slightly more fragile, but he's not much more durable.
Yeah.
Didn't feel that great, especially when Totem's 1-drops could have spells and stuff like that. So yeah, this will hopefully make Honor Guard feel a little more usable again, another buff to sort of a mid-rangey card to make it feel more appealing.
Yeah, definitely. Now that it can't be easily dusted, right? So
Powers through silence and dusting and stuff like that. So it
yeah,
is very, very hard to negate.
it's very hard to deny the premium armor guard
Yeah,
now. Cool.
which helps compensate for its lowish stats on 5 cost.
That's it. So then we have Mamba. Mamba is receiving the good old buff. So she gets 1 extra point in power, 1 less point in health. What about this one, Coulter?
Yeah, so Mamba was a card I heard a lot of people talking about. A lot of people were kind of scared of Mamba, and reasonably so. And what I was thinking when looking at Mamba is that a 4/4 that becomes a 6/6 really doesn't feel like a agility card. It feels more like a strength card. So I wanted to weight her stats more greedily towards attack and reduce her health a bit, so she feels more like a glass cannon card that becomes even more powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And generally, it's a nerf to trade health for attack because of how important damage breakpoints are. Because if you miss a damage breakpoint when killing something, its attack effectively doubles. It like gains its attack for a whole other turn.
Yeah.
So generally, it's better to have health than attack. As long as you have like 3 or more attack, you'd prefer to get some health over some attack. Yeah. And it dies to stuff like on turn 2 if you turbo it out, rather than being like incinerate or bust. It now gets eaten by Grim Reprisal, Backstab, and Strike Down and stuff like that. So it's in a more vulnerable place.
Yeah, just like Alpha Sapphire was writing here, the difference between 3 and 4 health is pretty big in the game. So it makes the card much more vulnerable to stuff that wouldn't kill it before. All right, so then we have Khan. Some people are already in anticipation about, okay, what has changed here? So Khan is also receiving the switcheroo, but in the opposite direction, right? It has less power now and more health.
Yeah, so in the same way that Mamba, it makes her weaker, this should make Khan stronger. I was thinking of making him a 4/4, but it's just his ability to scale off of banner cards is pretty valuable.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty untested, and with stuff like I think On the Hunt, like if you On the Hunt into like a 1-drop with banner, like the little fox thing or whatever, that's like 2 banner spells for 2 mana. Like there could be something there. Runes also work really well with Khan. So yeah, I think it should be a pretty interesting place for Khan to be in now. He's kind of a chunky, growing boy who, if you don't answer him, he'll sort of take over the game. But we have answers to armor and units in general with stuff like Mortal Blow and Defragment and Encapsulate. Like there are decent mid-range removals that can punish mid-range threats. And if mid-range threats get better, then maybe people will stop running like all 1-drop decks a little more, and so it'll allow removal to play a little more of a value game as opposed to a strictly like AoE early game sniping game.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Firecrafter.
Yeah, this is frankly, this is a kind of a big buff, right? Because an extra point in health when you have armor is kind of a big deal, and because it's an inflatable unit, it can allow it to survive maybe that 1 extra turn in which you can then play a couple of extra banner cards and keep it back into the game. So yeah, this is interesting. Let's see how our strength friends will use Khan. I think it's a much better discovery card now. Then we have Sornoni. Sorry?
Just what strength needs, more discovery cards.
That's what we need right now.
Very good in discovery.
It is, yeah. I get frequently crushed.
Been like a top prism over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, that's true. So let's see here. The Sornoni also receiving a straight buff here. Now it's a 4/3/3. And this is a reversal of a nerf, right? Wasn't it 3/3 before? Or am I crazy?
It was a 3/2, which was much worse than 2/3. So I made it there. And now I've just gone, it's still not really being played because it's just so vulnerable, because it's like a 4 mana, like 5/5, draw 2 cards with armor, which sounds crazy, except you play it on 4 and then it gets like kicked around by runes or other things that overwrite its quest, or it just gets bullied into the ground by a 4 attack unit or something. So even though it's like a very powerful high roll card if unanswered, which may honestly be a problem if people try to use it like they used to use Mamba, but I think that like the fact that quest can be overwritten without penalty, yeah, maybe you can enrage it into someone's face or something like that, but think about glory trigger on card initiated attacks. There's literally like enrage and soul taunt that actually allow that to happen. So it was more just to make things cleaner. I don't think it'll actually have as big a difference as people think it will. Because enrage, you can't actually main deck it. It only exists on Vlad. Okay. So you need to play your sit 5-drop and Sworn Oni in the same turn, and then enrage the Sworn Oni to get it to actually enrage face, which is an 11 mana combo that deals like 6 damage to face and draws you 2 1-drops. So
yay. Got it. Yeah, this is an interesting one here. It's potentially such a good effect, right? Because double glory in some cases is pretty brutal, but it does require a lot of setup. So yeah, I think we should be okay overall. And again, more power here. I don't think it breaks anything.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so then good old tried and true. And here also a change in stats. It went from a 3/2 to a 2/3. You see here the final stat swap. Yeah, 2 HP is pretty rough. What enticed this change here, Golder?
Just that I really like Tried and True overall. It's a fun little thing to play with, and when it was a 3/3, it was like ridiculous. Kind of like it was in every deck because it was just such good value to play a 3/3 guard on curve that gained 2 life and drew you a card. So this is still kind of It's not like the best thing. It's got the stats of a Clawbear, but you get to draw a card and get some mana and stuff, and get some life. So I think that the fact that it doesn't die to Hero Banner or whatever will make it more appealing. It's kind of like a super Royal Mummy for 3 mana. It's kind of how I always saw Tried and True.
Super Royal Mummy is a good one. Yeah,
Royal Mummy.
I could even see Tried and True as a 1/4. So maybe you could get another sunset option, because usually it very commonly dies in the first turn, right? Because at 3,
it could be interesting for sure to have it be tankier.
Alrighty, that's a good one.
Alpha Sapphire, no. Aggro right.
You want to go face. Alright, so then Void Knight. Void Knight got a switcheroo here. It lost its fate and now got a spell, Grim Reprisal. Interesting here. Was it like a thematic change more than anything else?
I would say Void Knight is the worst agility card in the entire game change. Void Knight has consistently seen 0 play since it was released, and that's... I don't know. It's due to a combination of factors. Honestly, a 3/3 Fate for 3 seems pretty darn strong. Like, but the thing was that I really felt like with Howlgeist as like the premium 3 mana 4/4, like, can we make a 3/4 with Fate and a bonus ability, like, and Wither, like, that doesn't have Void Knights or the downside of the other of what's his name? The Howlgeist, like, I think I called him Chaingeist.
The Chain Golem.
Or Chain Golem? I meant Howlgeist. With Howlgeist being sort of the premium 3-drop that represents strength having the best stats on curve, if this traded 1 stat for a positive effect and like Fate, that seemed a little overboard. So rather than boosting its stats like I did with other units, I just gave it what's regarded by many people to be a really powerful aggressive spell, which makes it sort of like a 3-drop that you can play on curve, or you can play it as a 4-drop with its spell to kill something. You can maybe pop a Royal Mummy or something like that. and then immediately deprive your opponent of its healing. But at the same time, the fact that Void Knight blocks your own healing, plus has a spell that further gouges your own life total, helps to sort of enforce a sub-theme of agility, which is playing risky double-edged cards. So it was a good place to get another one of those in without actually making one from the ground up. So now Void Knight is another sort of high-risk, high-reward-ish type card where you can leverage it to deny your enemy healing, but it also causes you to bleed out even faster because he hurts your own health total and shuts off any healing you may have.
Yeah, that's interesting. Void Knight is just here to take names. He doesn't care who's who. All right. We're getting to the end here. I believe we have just a couple more. And then we have a big one of our OG guards here, Trapper Keeper.
I'd like to apologize to Faman. I still want to use the effect which he suggested, which Trapper had before, but this is, I think, cleaner overall. It has a mini thesis below it.
And what enticed this change here? What was your train of thought?
Working off of... This was a design I've actually had for a long time. It's kind of inspired by goofy cards like Lore Walker Cho or whatever, but it's a very Skyweaver-y twist on them in that it's one-sided, so every time your opponent plays a spell, it mirrors it and implants a copy of it on itself. But if your opponent plays another spell, then it overwrites it. It just keeps reflecting the most recently played spell. The other thing is that Trapper Keeper was a stat block designed card where it has a lot of stats, but the fact that it would suicide as soon as a spell was played, kind of the two halves of Trapper Keeper constantly seemed to be at war with each other, and that made something that wasn't really that good at either part. Because as the community mentioned, it was unlike Fly Guy, it's too expensive to really play out early as a spell trap.
Yeah.
Like, if you play it out and your opponent uses a 0 mana card to kill it, then you're just losing because you lost so much tempo. So that sort of like spell capturing effect would be better on a 1 or 2 drop with weak stats. Whereas Trapper Keepers had a fun sort of design of being a bulky kind of unit that could serve as defense and spell countering, but because you could remove it so easily, that didn't really work. So instead of countering and capturing the spell, what it does now is it just keeps copying the most recent spell. So your opponent will give you a spell, but then they can kill Trapper Keeper if they have the stuff to the muscle to do it. And it can still create awkward scenarios early because since you're guaranteed to get, since it's not going to die when they play a spell, they have to really think, if I play a spell and I'm giving it to the opponent, like they're going to get it unless I can kill Trapper Keeper, and I don't get any inherent benefit for casting a spell when Trapper Keeper's in play because Trapper Keeper itself does not die. So yeah, it seems like this should be a really kind of interactive, interesting card. It is pretty easy to remove still, but the fact that removing it is something you do to prevent your opponent from getting the spell and not a result of you casting a spell should be pretty fun, I think. I think this will be it's a very thematic, interesting card, and it still keeps the idea of Trapper Keeper being a magic mirror.
Yes.
Which is called Trapper Keeper for some reason, which is like a bookcase. So I feel like maybe that was the old name for bookcasey, and it just I don't even know. Yeah, but Trapper Keeper, again, it still traps and keeps spells, so it's a pretty fun, reflective card.
Still on point. Yeah, I think this is frankly a much better Trapper Keeper. Much more interesting and fun to play, I think. I was always a bit disappointed when I was playing Discovery and I got a Trapper Keeper because it's a good guard for maybe a turn, and then it just forces the enemy to just waste a spell like Zap or something, and then everything just goes away and bam. Now this is much more interesting, and yeah, so good job there. Nice. So Molten Heart also receiving changes here. So before it would give a target unit quest, lifesteal and +1/+3, and now first it gives a target unit +2/+2, and then it triggers its death effects, of course, if any. This is a really cool change, and did you try to remove the keyword hoarding here by avoiding the lifesteal and etc., or any other reasons for this one?
Mechanically, granting lifesteal is now a primarily a strength effect. Like the ability to pass lifesteal to any unit you want is sort of centralized into strength. Molten Heart was also just a card that kind of had been power crept because it had been in its current form for months and months and months and months. And this was a design I'd actually had in my design docket for a while. And I wanted to think of a way to sort of make Molten Heart feel more like a heart card, because Worfs at one point memed about I was going to move it to strength or something because of that. Someone mentioned that. It was something I'd actually been thinking about for a while.
Right.
I do think that this actually may still be a bit weak. It might even be like able to go to 3 mana, although that might be too strong. But again, using it with something like Fungi results in your whole board getting buffed and the Fungi getting buffed and buffing itself. So that gives like +3/+3 to Fungi and +3 to, or +1/+1 to everything else. So I think it's a really spicy card. It should be fairly fun to work with in Heart.
Yeah, I like it because it's in the heart. Frankly.
Yeah. Stuff like Vanessa too, like
Vanessa. Yeah, exactly.
You can even do like a totem or honor guard turbo thing where you play that, and then if your opponent doesn't break the totem open, you just Molten Heart the totem.
Hydrex, Opal Golem. Yeah. Ooh.
Just make it, I don't know if you're trolling, but I specifically put it in there. If you use it on Earth Golem, the only thing that's going to happen is you'll gain 10 life, and then Golem will get tossed off a cliff into the void. Because it'll dust itself as part of its death effect. It'll just get tossed off a cliff.
Nice. So yeah, let's... Sorry?
Self-nuke.
Yes, the self-nuke, absolutely. Cool. I like this change. This is exciting. Angler. Angler now is a stealthy fish. Because of that, 2 health now instead of 4. And let's see the summon effect here. Before, if you had no mana, you would draw your lowest cost water spell onto the angler. Now you draw your lowest cost water spell onto this unit. If you have no mana, draw it to hand instead. Ooh, that's an interesting change. I like the fact that now you can start putting water spells into your hand. This is interesting.
So yeah, Angler was a card that always felt funky in practice, even though in principle I thought it was cool. Like, the idea that water has the low tide mechanic, where if you have no mana, you can activate effects or bonus effects on cards, is cool, but at the same time, it really works backwards with spell seekers, because you want to play the spell seeker and then use the spell it seeks. So the fact that Angler couldn't do that meant that it had to have a really chunky body of a 2/4 for 2, which is like on par with strength stat lines, and also really didn't fit in with like what I had thought of as the theming of Angler, because he's like a fish that lives in the dark, who's scared. He's like weak and small and easily spooked. So yeah, the only way to make it work, like Bloodheal saying, was to use it with like Mana Vial, but it just felt so awkward and kind of bad. And I think that water is a fun sub-theme of Intellect. Intellect has like a water theme, but the fact that Angler was so bad, I feel like kind of gimped that to some extent. Like Wisdom has an Earth sub-theme, so it has stuff like Earth Warden that helps make cards like Take Root really good and help with that. And water has, and Cobalt makes the metal theme of Intellect good, and you see Hot Dog helping with agility with its fire theme and that kind of stuff. Light Ranger is in strength. Strength doesn't have a super like light theme, but that's okay, because don't really want to put Light Ranger in the same prism as Prismata necessarily.
Please.
Yeah, hopefully this will help push maybe some more water-centric decks a little, which were quite a pain in the past, but with Octavian and Wisdom and the water cards kind of split between Int and Wisdom, I think it should work out well and maybe encourage a little more water theming in Intellect, because it can fish up things like Water Rune and stuff like that. So yeah, hopefully this will make Angler feel a lot better. I feel like it might be a little strong, but even in its best, it's kind of like Refus, where it's like a small stat pile that draws you a card for 2 mana if it puts it in hand. So I think it should be interesting. No mana effects are often tricky to trigger, so I think it will be quite good with Teleport. It's probably one of the premium teleport targets, because I'm pretty sure, I need to actually double check, I'm pretty sure that Yeah, I think I did check. If you teleport Angler in and you have no mana, it won't erase its spell shield. It'll just pull the card directly to hand, and it'll be a spell shielded 2/2 that draws a card for 2, which again is not much better than Reefus, really. But
Yes.
water spell may be better than stealth units in the early game, since a lot of water spells can be decent removal. So yeah, it seems like it should be a fun build around an intellect, and it's no longer a 2/4, so it doesn't feel like a strength card in a trench coat pretending to be an intellect card. So
Strength card in a trench coat is an excellent one. Yeah, this is nice. And again, it's a summon effect, right? It's something that cannot be easily abused. So I think this is fair. I like the change, yeah. And apparently people like it too. So let's see here now what we have for...
Alpha likes it. Probably goes in his aggro decks alongside Cobalt. This buffs my decks because Angler will be a good value aggro unit now.
That's for sure. So here's Krampus, alright? And of course we won't spoil the fun, alright? We're not gonna show all the gifts for you. You have to play and see what kind of goodies you have, alright? I'm sure we have a lot of fun clips of the wildest stuff happening during the Christmas event. Kramp-mas event, come on. We have to keep in lore here. So I really love the art. I love the sneaker on Krampus's face. So yeah, this is gonna be fun.
Big shout out to Daniel Rocca for organizing this art. I like that. This was actually the thing which the event depended most upon, because it was a stock map for the whole thing. Although obviously Ari did massive amounts, ridiculous amounts of work, but I knew that if we couldn't get this, the event just wouldn't be possible at all.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I messaged him like 3 weeks ago, I'm like, can we like streamline in a Krampus art so we can set up this Krampus Molten Heart? I think that just switches it to your opponent. Or maybe it makes a duplicate of Krampus. I should actually check that. That would be fun.
Gonna be...
Duplicating Krampus isn't really that hard though, and I expect a ton of people to do it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's gonna be fun. It's a special game mode and etc. So that's the idea here. You're breaking things up and getting the best, the wildest matches here. So we're good to go. Yeah, Daniel has done an amazing job here, and Ari and the rest of the gang, they worked their asses off this last week to make sure we've implemented and everything would be ready for dispatch. So kudos goes to them, and thank you, Coulter, for the initiative, right? It's our first festive event, I believe, in-game, so that's a kind of a pretty big deal.
Yeah. I wanted to mention, just for the question, for some people like Icicle, saying Krampus is not a card you can play in the regular game mode, nor are his gifts. They're ridiculously world-bendy. I probably should have made that clear, because that disappoints some people, unfortunately. Krampus is a special holiday sort of game mode that's there for enjoyment. He's not playable in the main game. I actually do think that we will for sure... This card is also potentially a preview of things to come, but it will probably exist in a vastly different form than it does here. Krampus, the raid boss / game mode, will probably be different than the Krampus card that will arrive one day. Maybe for next year's holiday we could have that. But so he won't be invading. It was actually a choice, because I was thinking, well, we could just make it so Krampus randomly spawns into regular games, but then I'm like, but people could get sick of that real fast. So Krampus is kept safe from the competitive major league gaming of the competitive scene, and he's shackled to his own game mode, where he will probably show up far before turn 10. Just
there's a high chance of that happening. All right. So yeah, just at Bacon here has this highlighted message, and big thanks to all the devs. You're all doing such an amazing job with this game and putting it so much work. Keep being great. Thank you. Yeah, you all are the reason why we do so much work. And that's it. It's not a big patch, but some very meaningful changes here. And I believe that people will use those changes in creative ways moving forward. So everybody, tomorrow, right? As usual, before the end of the day, this is going live. So please test and keep in mind what Coulter just said. It's a festive game mode. Please, it's not a jab at the competitive side of it, and it's not supposed to be. This, I've opened up the stream saying that this is the last patch of the year, and that's it. So we are going sometime in the middle of the next week, going into a holiday break. We are back, of course, in the beginning of January to our regular routines. I'll be around in the communities. If anybody has any need of any community help, please ping me and I'll be there, and I'll be reading the messages and keeping everything civil. And I would just like myself and Morty here, my pet Skull from Torment, would like to thank you all for being with us in this very troubled and messy year. Marcelo Kramp-mas cosplay confirmed. And I wish I could look as cool as Kramp-mas here. I don't have what it takes. So that's it then. Our final stream for the year will be Friday, with my last community stream. The next week there will be no streams, so we're going back probably January 5th. So enjoy your families. Please stay safe, everybody. And we have a lot of great news for you early in the coming year. Okay, so stick around. Thank you, Coulter, for your insights, and thank Ari. Are you still here with us?
I am.
So you can say your byes and thank yous.
Thank you, Marcelo, for all the great community management you do and all the great streams you run. And thanks to, honestly, everyone at Horizon. What a great company full of great people. I am so privileged to work with you all. And thank you, community, for doing what you do and spamming in Twitch chat. It means a lot, really.
I second that. And Coulter?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel so lucky to be working here as well. It's just, when I was game designing, I thought to myself, I'm like, I would like to design trading card games. And then I managed to reach this place really quickly, far faster than I assumed it would come. So it's really been such a blessing, and I'm so excited to go into a whole new year of working with Horizon and working for all of you in the community to build a wonderful game experience that you all love to play.
Yeah, I've seen my fair share of gaming companies, and definitely Horizon is a cut above the rest in its philosophy and the people that we are employing here. We're small, but we're doing mighty things, so I'm I feel very fortunate being here. Okay, everybody, so we hope you all enjoy your Kramp-mas, do a lot of crazy shenanigans, and patch is coming for you tomorrow. Thank you very much, and see you in Sky. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.